So we're live, we're ready to go. We'd like to welcome our first tariffs presentation team. We have Henry, Austin, and Dustin, so thank you so much for sharing your insights with us. I'll let you guys get started. I'm sorry, Kenny. I said Henry. I apologize.
So, as she said, I'm Autumn. Kenny and Austin will be talking to you about tariffs.
Alright, so just kind of a preface for our presentation. So we'll start off by talking about why are we implementing these tariffs, what's going on in Trump's head, stuff like that. And then after that, we'll give kind of an analysis of these tariffs, what's included in them, what do they consist of. And then we'll talk about the impacts of these tariffs on all the stakeholders or people that it's affecting worldwide. And then the responses of those stakeholders to the tariffs that have been implemented.
So the first part we have to look at is why these tariffs are being implemented. So right now the steel industry is suffering because steel prices are cheaper to be imported from other countries compared to prices in the United States. So if we can look here, this is just a graph of the production of steel and aluminum in the United States over the past couple decades. So it starts in 1990, and the production in steel has gone down by more than 100,000 of the by a large number, and then aluminum has gone down by 50%.
So, in response to the struggling steel and aluminum industry, President Trump has a solution. This solution consists of implementing tariffs on steel and aluminum imports to the U.S. These tariffs specifically target Chinese steel and aluminum imports. China is a country who is believed to be dumping steel and aluminum into our markets, which affects the competitive prices of American steel and aluminum. It is believed that if you implement tariffs, we will have a higher price for Chinese aluminum and steel, therefore making the price of American steel and aluminum more competitive, so that American steel and aluminum companies can compete at a fair market price. And then, of course, if they can compete at a fair market price, it is believed that we'll be able to protect the steel and aluminum industry jobs to stop the degradation that you have seen in the past 5 years with Kenny. Now, implementing tariffs consists of negotiations. So this began when President Trump implemented a 25% tariff on steel imports and a 10% tariff on aluminum imports. China responded to this in a negative way by saying, we will implement tariffs on $3 billion worth of U.S. imports in response to taxing our exports. The U.S. was like, not going to happen, sorry, we're tougher than you. And so they threatened an additional $100 billion worth of tariffs. And China was like, all right, listen, how about we agree to open our markets a little bit more and enforce intellectual property rights, which is something that the U.S. and China have been going back and forth on for many years. But we're still not going to be fine with these steel and aluminum imports. So they're still fighting back against those tariffs through the World Trade Organization. As of now, we don't know what's going to happen next. However, we can look to history to see what may happen.
So right here are two different cases in historical context. The first one is the 2002 tariffs on steel from Bush, and then the second one is the 2009 Mexico tariffs. So the first one is, so Bush implemented up to 20% steel tariffs on imports on European countries, and it was excluding Canada and Mexico like it is now. So what happened was the EU submitted a case to the World Trade Organization, and they came out against the steel tariffs, stating that we're at a time where the imports are not getting more expensive, and that they were going to put a $2 billion fine on the United States if we implemented the tariffs. And then what ended up happening is we lost around $300 million in capital, and we rolled back the tariffs. This one right here is during the Obama administration. So we had a deal with Mexico on a cross-border trucking plan in NAFTA, and we decided not to fulfill our agreement, and Mexico imposed retaliatory tariffs against us on American products totaling up to $2.4 billion worth of annual exports on toothpaste, sunglasses, wine, and a bunch of other products. And what ended up happening is we had to roll back, or in order to get the tariffs rolled back, we had to implement the plan that we initially thought of.
Alright, so this is kind of our visual explanation on who the winners and losers are because of these tariffs. And as you can see, we kind of did it on a balance beam to show that the losers are outweighing the winners. So for the winners, we have aluminum and steel workers, foreign manufacturers, and then robots who are more automated production for steel and aluminum. And then for the losers, we have U.S. farmers, U.S. consumers, U.S. automakers, and then some Republicans. So the positive impacts for the winners we saw, we have the U.S. steelworkers. This will help them because with the prices rising for imported steel, the demand for steel will grow in the United States, and that'll increase jobs and increase wages in the United States. And then for foreign manufacturers, more businesses in the U.S. are going to see steel prices rise, which will affect their raw materials for their inventories for making anything from cars, washing machines, stuff like that. So they're going to try and go to foreign manufacturers to get those products produced and then ship them into the United States, trying to get around the steel tariff because it'll be a finished product, not a raw material. And then for robots, so for U.S. steelworkers, their jobs are going to go up, but we could possibly also see automated manufacturing through robots kind of become more prominent because it's cheaper and it's way more efficient.
There will be several negative impacts to this as well, and as we mentioned, these will far outweigh positive impacts. U.S. farmers will be significantly hurt by this. China's tariffs are specifically targeting U.S. agricultural output, which we export to China. So U.S. farmers will have higher export costs, will have a larger degree of goods here at home they won't be able to sell. U.S. consumers will have to pay higher prices, as Austin mentioned, for things like cars, washing machines, refrigerators, anything that contains steel and aluminum that will now have a higher input cost. U.S. manufacturers will also have higher input costs. Boeing, anybody who makes cars here in the U.S., such as GM and Ford, this features somebody who's working in the Ford factory who's worried about their job. They'll have higher input costs and could possibly have to lay off workers and adjust their bottom lines as a result. And U.S. infrastructure and the potential for it to be implemented will be affected because the budgets will have to be increased in order to implement it. If you want to build a bridge and improve our infrastructure, that requires a lot of steel. That steel is now going to cost more money. So those are some of the negative impacts.
So here's our visual kind of on the affected regions worldwide, just so everyone can kind of get a sense of it. So our blue plus marks will be positively affected regions who benefit from these tariffs, and then our yellow negative signs will be the negatively affected regions. So we can see in the United States, basically the entire United States is affected by this just because prices are going to go up for steel, and products that use steel as an input are going to increase also. But the only places that are positive is going to be around Pennsylvania, Ohio, and Minnesota. That's the steel belt, so that's where we'll see jobs increase, and a lot of the workers are happy about that. And then China obviously will be negatively affected also just because of this back and forth banter that the United States and China have going on and their increased prices. We can see that Europe, Russia, and India are all positively affected by this. They're going to get imports of steel from China in bigger quantities for less money, which will benefit their infrastructures and stuff like that, just because China's not going to be exporting to America anymore as much. And as we can see also, Canada and Mexico are neutral right now. They have been excluded from the tariffs, so they're neither positively affected or negatively affected. And we have a short video to show you kind of about what a trade war looks like.
is on.
Claro, nice and easy.
President Trump says trade wars are good. But what would a trade war look like? Here are the facts. With his proposal to slap a 25% tariff on steel imports and 10% on aluminum, President Trump wants to protect those industries in the U.S. That's called protectionism.
We have countries that are taking advantage of us. They're charging us massive tariffs for us to sell our product into those countries. And when they sell to us, zero. We charge them zero.
The problem is the ripple effect. If Trump taxes aluminum and steel, that affects Canada, China, and the European Union. They could retaliate and strike. Canada could stop importing California wine, and it could get personal. The European Union would target bourbon and Harley-Davidson. Products that are made in these congressional leader states. We're stuck in a never-ending tug-of-war while businesses that were supposed to be protected start to lose their place in the economy because of inflated prices on vital materials. So, have we...
So, that's just another way of looking at the different effects of the affected regions throughout this tariff war. Obviously, they're not the primary effects, but there are some secondary effects that were really well explained in that video, so we figured that we could show you guys that, because it can get really personal between industries as well. So, there have been several responses to these tariffs, I'm sure, as you can imagine. And the responses within the U.S. have mostly come from trade groups and associations from industries and U.S. political leaders. The vast majority of trade groups are opposed to these tariffs. The only ones who have come out and openly endorsed it are the steel and aluminum trade groups. Over 100 trade groups have said, we're opposed, we cannot support this. In fact, they signed a letter to the Means and Ways Committee in Congress, stating very explicitly, tariffs will not effectively advance our shared goals. This included trade groups such as the Small Business Association, the American Petroleum Institute, the National Association of Manufacturers, all vital industries within our economy that don't believe that this will impact the consumer in any way besides higher costs and hurting businesses. U.S. political leaders are also opposed, and actually kind of silent because they're embarrassed by this. Republicans are opposed. In fact, even Orrin Hatch came out and said the president must have been grossly misinformed when he implemented these tariffs. All but 3 Democrats are also opposed. The Democrats that are in favor of this, as you can imagine, are the ones who represent those in the steel belt that Austin showed will be positively helped because their constituents will have steel manufacturing jobs. And it's also important to note that President Trump's chief economic advisor, who is also kind of a political leader, he resigned after Trump announced these tariffs because he just couldn't get on board with it, and he had to make reforms on them, which just shows that these tariffs really may have some serious effects that aren't going to help U.S. interests in the long run.
So there are also some global responses. The China response is probably the most documented as retaliatory, and they want to be negotiating about this just because it's negatively affecting both the United States and China. The UK response is opposed but quiet, and steel executives in the UK have been stated that they're going to wait for an EU response, just like in the example in the historical section with the Bush tariffs. So Mexico is opposed, and they've stated that they will retaliate if they are taken off the exemption list, and Canada is also opposed, but they're very outspoken. And then this is a quote from the Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, saying, "The tariffs are absolutely unacceptable. They make no sense."
So, in conclusion, after our comprehensive analysis, we can say that while Trump's tariffs sound really good in theory, the ripple effects throughout our economy as a result of these tariffs will hurt the U.S. more than they will help us. In fact, as one trade analyst said, where exactly this leads is anyone's guess, but it's certain to be a place less stable, less predictable, and less cooperative than the place we are right now. Thank you so much for listening to our presentation, and have a great day.
So we'll take questions now. Who wants to start? Joshua is going to start.
Hello, I have a question for you guys.
what percent or specific content of the tariff agreements do you experts believe will actually go into effect? Like what parts of the tariff of these tariffs do you think will actually be implemented?
So I think this is, right now, the banter between the United States and China is just kind of like kind of seeing who's the bigger macho man right now. So in the end, it's not going to be near as kind of taxing as we're seeing with all this money. It's $300 billion here, $100 billion here. That's just kind of trying to scare each other. I think we could see maybe 50% of that actually go into effect.
Next question, Marina, or Mallory.
Why aren't Mexico and Canada listed as affected regions?
Right now, Canada's trade agreement with steel is seen as a fair trade agreement, and they're actually our biggest importer of steel.
Michael.
Is it fair to compare historical tariffs from over a decade ago to these tariffs today?
I think it's important to look back at historical implications, especially with the Bush example, because those tariffs are going to affect similar regions, and there's similar responses already from what you can note. The EU and the World Trade Organization is a good way of looking at that.
Next question.
Why are the companies speaking out against this?
So their 2018 midterms are coming up, and they have to figure out how their constituents are going to react to this. They aren't going to come out and truly oppose all of this until they know what percent of this is actually going to go into effect, kind of as Austin noted. They don't want to kind of prematurely react and say something that could come back to haunt them on the campaign trails.
We have two more questions.
Can we continue to protect the steel industry forever?
Probably not. The idea of protectionism is always a relative theory based on who is in power. So if you say you get a Democrat come take office, who is the president who has the power right now to impose tariffs, they very well may remove those tariffs on a global free trade, going back to a degraded industry. It also is a question of whether steel and aluminum is an industry that is worth protecting. If there are other alternatives out there as inputs, it might be in the best interest of the free market to allow America to stop producing it.
And one more question from Anna.
Why are there several Democrats in favor of the tariffs?
So like we mentioned in the presentation, the Democrats are in the steel belt, which these trade tariffs are bringing jobs to these states. So they're happy about it.
Great. Wonderful job. Thank you so much, everybody. Well, I will stop this.